Day 20, Matthew 5:10 through 12. Prepare. Take a few slow breaths and quiet your soul. Close your eyes and set aside any distractions. Cast your cares one at a time upon the Lord and let Him carry them so you can focus your attention on His Word. Your deepest desire. What is the deepest, most driving desire in your heart today? Pray about that. And if you don't have any strong, compelling desire right now, ask God to ignite one in your heart. Matthew 5:10. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Up to now, each beatitude gets one verse, but this one is expanded to 3. Why do you think the one about persecution gets extra attention? All the other beatitudes take the form of blessed are those who. But in verse 11, Jesus changes to blessed are you. What do you think Jesus wanted to accomplish in making that change? Sometimes persecution becomes so extreme that it involves physical torture and death. Given those extreme forms, why do you think Jesus included insults in verse 11? Can you think of times when you have been insulted or mistreated in some way as the result of your commitment to Jesus and His teaching? Did you rejoice with gladness? Take a moment to imagine yourself being insulted for Christ in some way and responding with great happiness and rejoicing. Imagine it vividly enough that the next time you're persecuted, it will come back to your memory. Jesus doesn't just tell us to be happy. He gives a reason in verse 12. Rejoice and be glad because great is your reward in heaven. The reason for our happiness in those times is the greatness of our reward in heaven. What would it take for you to be reminded of increased reward in heaven each time you're mistreated because of following Christ? Why do you think your reward is increased each time you're insulted for Christ? What does that tell you about what God is like? At the end of verse 12, Jesus gives the basis for why your reward will be so great. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. How does your likeness to the prophets translate to getting greater reward? What does it say about mankind that the blessing of God and the persecution and hatred of the world meet on the same people? Pray for others, enemies, and children. Later in this same sermon, Jesus said this in verse 44 of Matthew 5, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Pray for God's blessing on the people who have hurt you. Pray that God would remove anything in their lives that prevents Him from blessing them. Pray the same for anyone else who is on your heart today. And pray for the children in your life. Ask God to teach them to rejoice over the rewards Jesus promises and respond graciously to persecution at an early age. Thanksgiving. In addition to great reward in heaven, God promised countless other blessings. Take a moment to express your gratitude for 5 of them. If you have trouble thinking of 5, just read Psalm 23. Take it with you. Pick one of those 5 promises and spend the rest of the day leaning on, resting in, trusting, and rejoicing over it. What could you use as memory cues to remind you of this promise at least a couple more times today?